Dear listeners, in today's video, we are going to tell you about Eisenhower dollar coins. Stop. If you think that this video is useless for you, then you are thinking wrong. Yes, because in this video, we will tell you the reasons for the creation of these coins. Mistakes, important roles, sacrifices, heroes, history, facts, and most importantly, how these coins can change your fate. Yes, you heard that right. Certain Eisenhower dollar coins from 1971 to 1978 have sold for significant amounts, with top-tier examples, particularly high-grade, rare, or error coins, fetching thousands of dollars. The most valuable, such as the 1971 ES Silver uncirculated coin, can sell up to $6,500 or more, while some rare error examples can exceed that, with top-grade specimens appearing in catalogs for up to $13,500 or even higher. A 1978D Eisenhower dollar in MS-67 condition was valued around $6,000 by NGC. There are so many other examples which can tell the real value of these coins. In the video, you will be told about all the coins one by one. After watching the video till the end, you will know which coin you can sell at a good price and where. The video will tell you about all the auctions, collectors, and all the information you need to know. Several minutes is going to completely and utterly shatter everything you ever thought you knew about pocket change. Because of today, we are diving deeper than we have ever gone before into one of the most breathtakingly spectacular, jaw-droppingly underappreciated, and shockingly misunderstood coins in the entire glorious history of American numismatics. And that coin, ladies and gentlemen, is the legendary man-blowing, staggeringly rare, and historically explosive 1971 Eisenhower $1 coin. And before you even think about rolling your eyes or reaching for the back button, let me stop you dead in your tracks. In a drawer and forgot about this is a monetary time capsule forged in the fires of political drama, economic. It is so outrageously fascinating, so loaded with hidden secrets, so packed with stunning varieties and mind-melting auction results that will make your absolute jaw hit the floor and bounce back up and hit the floor again, that you simply cannot afford to miss a single solitary second off you. I am about to reveal to you right now, so buckle up and settle in BK, because we are about to go on the most incredible, just maybe make you want to tear apart your grandmothers. I am telling you right now, with complete and total sincerity, that the treasure could be hiding right there, under your nose, and has been sitting there for decades. And today's friends, that someone is going to be you. So let us start from the very beginning and understand at the deepest possible. So jaw-droppingly valuable in the finest grades that collectors and investors around the entire world are willing to pay absolutely insane money to get their hands on. Even a single example of these magnificent masterpieces of American coinage, artistry, and history, which stretches back to a time of enormous national significance and emotional weight that simply cannot be overstated under any circumstance. Because the year 1971 was not just another unremarkable year in the American calendar. It was a year of seismic political and cultural transformation, the kind of year that shakes the foundations of a civilization and leaves an indelible and permanent mark on the fabric of the entire nation. And to truly understand the 1971 Eisenhower dollar AF level, you need to understand it. You absolutely must first understand the man himself, the towering legendary five-star general, Super Mech commander of the Allied Expeditionary Forces and 34th President of the United States of America, Dwight David Eisenhower, who was born on October 14, 1890, in Denison, Texas, and who rose through the ranks of the United States Army to become, quite literally, the most powerful military commander in the entire history of Western civilization. And Eisenhower passed away on March 28, 1969 at the age of 78 in Washington, D.C., leaving behind a legacy so enormous, so profoundly impactful, so deeply woven in the very identity of 20th century America that the entire nation was plunged into a state of deep, heartfelt, and genuinely overwhelming mourning, because this was a man who had commanded the largest military invasion in all of human history on the blood-soaked beaches of Normandy on June 6, 1944. On a day that would forever be known simply as D-Dawn, this was a man who had guided America through the terrifying and nail-biting uncertainties of the early Cold War era, staring down the Soviet threat with a steady hand and a cool head, who had built the interstate, a highway system that literally connected the bones and sinews of the entire continental United States together in a web of concrete and asphalt that transformed American life and commerce in ways that are still being felt today, and who had served to full terms as president with a dignity, quiet, strength, and unimpeachable integrity that made him one of the most genuinely beloved and deeply respected figures in all of American history. And when he died in that spring of 1969, the outpouring national grief was absolutely overwhelming and heartfelt, and Greece knew immediately, with complete unanimity, that this great man deserved to be immortalized on American coinage in a way that would honor High's extraordinary legacy for not just one generation, but for all generations to come. And so began one of the most dramatic, contentious, and frankly fascinating legislative battles in the history of the United States. Mint, a battle that would take nearly 2 full years to resolve and would result in the creation of a coin unlike absolutely anything that had ever been struck before in the entire 180-year history of American coinage. And let me tell you, right now, that the story of how this coin came to be is just as shocking and endlessly fascinating as the coin itself, because you need to understand that at the exact same time that Congress was passionately debating how to best honor the memory of Eisenhower, something even more earth-shaking and historic calamitous was happening in American monetary policy, because President Richard Nixon was in the process of doing something that would fundamentally and permanently alter the global financial system and the concept of money itself forever, and that was the complete and total severing of the United States dollar from the gold standard in what became known as the Nixon shock of August 5, 10th, 1971, which meant that first time in American history, the dollar would no longer be backed by physical gold reserves sitting in vaults, and the implications of this decision for both economics and coin collecting are profound beyond measure, because it meant that the paper money in your pocket and the coins in your change were no longer backed by anything tangible, except full faith and credit of the United States government, which is actually an extraordinary philosophical transformation in the very nature of money, and this monumental decision had enormous implications for the coinage that was being designed and produced at exactly that some critical moment in history. Because the debate about what metal the new Eisenhower dollar should be made from became absolutely explosive in the halls of Congress, with some legislators demanding with great passion and conviction that the coin be struck in real silver as a proper tribute befitting the dignity and importance of the man being honored, while others, including the Treasury Department, argued with equal force that silver was simply too expensive and too scarce a commodity to be squandered on a coin intended for everyday circulation in the pockets and purses of ordinary Americans. And this battle raged for months, with speeches on both sides of the aisle and intense lobbying from silver mining states, particularly Nevada, whose senators were absolutely adamant and completely unyielding in their insistence that the Eisenhower dollar must contain real silver as a matter of both economic principle and national honor, and the compromise that was eventually hammered. That was one of the most fascinating and consequential decisions in the entire history of American numismatics, because Congress joltingly agreed to produce 2 completely separate and distinct versions of the Eisenhower dollar, simultaneously, one version made half-clad copper-nickel for ordinary circulation in everyday commerce, and a special collector's version made of 40% silver that would be sold directly to collectors and enthusiasts through the United States Mint at a premium price above face value. And this decision created a numismatic situation of almost indescribable complexity and richness. It meant that from the very first year of production, in 1971, the Eisenhower dollar existed in multiple completely distinct varieties with wildly different compositions, different mintages, and dramatically different values on the collector's market. And understanding the crucial differences between these varieties is not just helpful, it is absolutely essential for any collector or investor who wants to successfully navigate the treacherous but thrillingly rewarding waters of Eisenhower dollar collecting. And a fundamental thing you absolutely need to know is that in 1971, the Eisenhower dollar was struck at 2 different United States mint facilities, the legendary Philadelphia Mint and the Denver Mint, and the coins from these 2 facilities, while visually nearly identical to the completely untrained and inexperienced, are actually quite different in several critically important ways, and the way to tell them apart is almost insultingly simple once you know what to look for, because coins struck at the Denver Mint carry a small but crucial letter D mint mark on the obverse of the coin, just below President Eisenhower's powerful neck, while coins struck at the Philadelphia Mint in 1971 carry absolutely no mint mark at all, because the Philadelphia Mint had not used a P mint mark on dollar coins until later in the series, and this seemingly tiny difference between a coin with a D and a coin with absolutely no mint mark is actually the difference between coins that can vary enormously in value depending on their condition, their specific variety, and the current state of the collector's market. In speaking of varieties, let us talk about something that makes 1971. Imagine holding a piece of history in your hand, a coin that carries the legacy of American pride, power, and mystery. The 1972 Eisenhower dollar. A coin that many people overlook, yet collectors quietly hunt with excitement, because hidden within this large, bold, silver-toned coin is a story that connects the era of space exploration, presidential legacy, and surprising rarity that can turn an ordinary pocket find into a jaw-dropping treasure. This coin was first introduced as part of a series honoring President Dwight D. Eisenhower, a war hero and leader who guided the United States through challenging times and whose image now lives forever on this iconic dollar. And what makes the 1972 issue particularly fascinating is that it represents the second year of production for the Eisenhower dollar series, which began in 1971, and already collectors were noticing variations, errors, and mint differences that would later become highly desirable and valuable in the coin collecting world. Also known as numismatics, the 1972 Eisenhower dollar was minted in 3 primary locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. But here is where things get truly exciting, because not all 1972 Eisenhower dollars are created equal, and some of them are so rare and valuable that they have sold for thousands of dollars at auction, shocking collectors who once dismissed them as common coins. And the biggest secret behind this coin's value lies in the different reverse designs, specifically the Type 1, Type 2, and Type 3 varieties, which are based on subtle differences in the depiction of the Earth. On the reverse side of the coin, beneath the eagle, a design inspired by the Apollo 11 mission, and this is where history meets space exploration, because the reverse design itself celebrates the historic moon landing, a moment that changed humanity forever, and is symbolized by the eagle landing on the moon, with Earth visible in the background. But in 1972, the Philadelphia Mint produced 3 distinct versions of this Earth's design, and one of them, the Type 2 variety, is extremely rare and highly sought after because it was only produced for a short period before being replaced, making it a hidden gem that can be worth a fortune today. If you are lucky enough to find one in your collection, or even in circulation, and collectors have been known to search through rolls of coins, hoping to discover this elusive variety, and when one appears in high-grade condition, it can command astonishing prices, sometimes reaching into the thousands, depending on its condition and certification grade, which is determined by professional grading services that evaluate coins on a scale from poor to perfect mint state. And speaking of condition, this is another factor that dramatically affects the value of a 1972 Eisenhower dollar, because while millions were minted, most of them were heavily circulated, meaning they show signs of wear, scratches, and dull surfaces. But coins that have been preserved in pristine, uncirculated condition, or those that were specially struck as proof coins in San Francisco with mirror-like finishes and sharp details, can be incredibly valuable, especially when graded at the highest levels, such as MS65, MS66 or higher, and collectors are willing to pay premium prices for these top-tier coins because they represent the finest surviving examples of this historic issue, and auctions have revealed just how strong the demand is for rare Eisenhower dollars, with some exceptional specimens fetching eye-opening prices that surprise even seasoned collectors. And this growing interest is fueled by the coin's unique combination of historical significance, large size, bold design, and the thrill of discovering rare varieties hidden in plain sight. And let's not forget the silver content factor, because while most Eisenhower dollars were struck in a copper nickel-clad composition, the San Francisco Mint also produced special silver versions for collectors, which adds intrinsic value based on precious metal content, making these coins even more attractive, especially during times when silver prices rise and investors as well as collectors begin searching for coins that offer both historical and material value. And this dual appeal makes the 1972 Eisenhower dollar a fascinating coin to own, study, and potentially profit from. And if you are wondering how rare this coin truly is, the answer depends on the specific variety and condition, because while millions of standard coins exist, the rare Type 2 reverse variety is considered one of the key dates in the Eisenhower dollar series, and finding one in high-grade condition is extremely difficult, which is why it commands such high prices and why collectors are constantly on the hunt for it, checking coin shops, online marketplaces, estate sales, and even old collections passed down through generations. Because you never know where a hidden treasure might. And when it comes to auctions, the 1972 Eisenhower, in major coin auctions where bidders compete fiercely to secure these pieces, and prices can climb rapidly as collectors recognize the rarity and quality of the coin being offered. And some auctions have recorded sales that leave people stunned, especially when a coin that once circulated as everyday currency suddenly becomes a prized collectible worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. And this Eisenhower dollars are a passionate group who appreciate not only the historical significance of the series, but also the challenge of completing. The 1972 issue represents a crucial piece of that puzzle, especially the elusive. It and the community of collectors often shares tips, knowledge, and discoveries through forums, clubs, and social media, creating a vibrant network of enthusiasts who celebrate each new find and help each other identify valuable coins and avoid common pitfalls. And if you are inspired to start collecting 1972 Eisenhower dollars, There are a few key things to keep in mind. First, always examine the reverse design carefully to determine which type you have, paying close attention to the shape of the earth and the details of the countenance, because this is the key to identifying the rare Type 2 variety. Second, consider the condition of the coin, looking for examples with minimal wear, strong luster, and clean surfaces, as these will be more valuable and desirable. And third, consider having your coin professionally graded if you believe it may be a high-grade or rare variety, because certification can significantly increase its value and credibility in the market. And finally, stay informed about current market trends and auction results, because prices can fluctuate based on demand, rarity, and overall interest in the series, and by staying educated, you can make smarter decisions. Collection and the story of the 1972 Eisenhower dollar is a powerful reminder that even coins that seem ordinary can hold extraordinary value and history waiting to be discovered. And as you continue, alive and your passion strong, because the next incredible find could be closer than you think, hidden in a drawer, a jar, or even your pocket change, just waiting to change your life. And that is the magic of coin collecting, where history, mystery, and opportunity come together in the palm of your hand, creating a thrilling experience that never gets old. Get ready to unlock a hidden treasure story that most people ignore every single day, because sitting quietly in collections, drawers, old piggy banks, and forgotten coin jars is a powerful piece of American history. The legendary 1974 Eisenhower dollar, a coin that at first glance looks ordinary, big, bold, heavy, and almost too common to matter, but the truth will shock you, because behind that familiar design lies a world of surprising rarity, explosive auction prices, passionate collectors, and secrets that could turn a simple coin into a life-changing discovery. This coin proudly features the image of Dwight D. Eisenhower, a towering figure in American history, a five-star general, and the 34th President of the United States, whose leadership during World War II and the Cold War era made him a symbol of strength and unity. And after his passing, the nation honored him with this striking dollar coin. First introduced in 1971, and by 1974, the series had already captured the attention of collectors who were beginning to realize that not all Eisenhower dollars were equal, and some of them held incredible hidden value and fascinating backstories that most casual observers would never imagine. Now here is where things get truly exciting, because the 1974 Eisenhower dollar was produced at multiple mints, including Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. In each of these locations created coins with different characteristics, compositions, and levels of rarity. And while millions of these coins were minted, the shocking reality is that only a tiny fraction have survived in high-grade, pristine condition, and those are the coins that ignite fierce bidding wars at auctions and command jaw-dropping prices that leave collectors speechless and eager for more. And when you look at the reverse design, you are not just seeing an eagle landing on the moon. You are witnessing a tribute to one of humanity's greatest achievements, the historic Apollo 11 moon landing, which inspired the design and connects this coin to the golden age of space exploration, a time when dreams became reality and the impossible was achieved. And this powerful symbolism adds emotional and historical weight that makes the coin even more desirable to collectors around the world. Now let's dive into the value, because this is where the story becomes truly shocking. Most circulated 1974 Eisenhower dollars might only be worth a small premium over face value, but do not let that fool you, because hidden among them are coins that can be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars depending on their condition, mint mark, and composition. Especially the 1974 silver proof and uncirculated issues struck in 40% silver at the San Francisco Mint, which contain intrinsic precious metal value and feature stunning mirror-like finishes that collectors absolutely love. And when these coins are preserved in near-perfect condition, graded at the highest levels by professional grading services, they can sell for astonishing amounts at major auctions, sometimes exceeding expectations and creating headlines that draw new collectors into the hobby. And speaking of grading, the condition of your coin is everything, because a worn coin with scratches and dull surfaces will never compete with a brilliant, uncirculated example that shines with original luster and razor-sharp details. And this difference in quality can mean the difference between a coin worth a few dollars and one worth a small fortune. And that is why serious collectors carefully examine every detail, from the cheek of Eisenhower's portrait to the clarity of the eagle's feathers on the reverse, searching for coins that stand out from the rest and represent the finest known examples of this historic issue. And now let's talk about rarity, because this is the factor that truly drives excitement and demand. While the overall mintage of 1974 Eisenhower dollars is high, the number of coins that remain in top condition is extremely limited, and over the decades many have been lost, damaged, or heavily circulated. leaving only a select few that meet the strict standards of high-end collectors, and this scarcity is what fuels intense competition, auctions where collectors battle to secure these rare gems, and prices can skyrocket in seconds, as bidders recognize the opportunity to own a piece of history that few others possess, and the auction scene for Eisenhower dollars has grown significantly over the years, with rare high-grade specimens appearing in prestigious sales and achieving impressive results that continue to surprise even seasoned numismatists. And these moments create a sense of urgency and excitement that spreads throughout the collecting community, inspiring more to search their own collections for hidden treasures and join the hunt for valuable coins. And collectors of the 1974 Eisenhower dollar come from all walks of life, from beginners just discovering the thrill of coin collecting to advanced numismatists building complete high-grade sets, and what unites them is the passion for history, the excitement of discovery, and the dream of finding that one extraordinary coin that changes everything. And many collectors focus on assembling sets that include coins from each mint, along with both clad and silver issues, while others specialize in high-grade examples or proof coins. With flawless surfaces and deep mirror finishes, and each approach offers its own challenges and rewards, making the journey as exciting as the destination. And if you are wondering how to identify a valuable 1974 Eisenhower dollar, there are several key factors to consider. First, check the mint mark, because coins from San Francisco, marked with an S, are often the silver issues, which are more valuable than the standard clad coins from Philadelphia and Denver. Second, examine the condition carefully, looking for coins with minimal wear, strong luster, and clean surfaces, as these will command higher prices. And third, consider having your coin professionally graded if you believe it may be a high-grade example, because certification adds credibility and can significantly increase its market value. And finally, stay informed about market trends, auction results, and collector demand, because the value of coins can change over time, and knowledge is your greatest advantage in this exciting field. And here is the most inspiring part of this story: the idea that something so ordinary can become extraordinary, that a coin once used for everyday transactions can transform into a prized, collectible worth far more than its face value. And this transformation is what makes coin collecting so addictive, so thrilling, and so full of possibility, because every coin has a story, and every collection has the potential to reveal hidden treasures. And the 1974 Eisenhower dollar stands as a powerful reminder that history, value, and opportunity are often hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone curious enough to look closer and bold enough to believe that greatness can be found in the most unexpected places. So the next time you come across a large, heavy dollar coin, do not dismiss it. Take a closer look, because you might be holding a piece of history, a symbol of achievement, and perhaps even a rare and valuable treasure that could spark your passion, ignite your curiosity, and change the way you see the world of coins forever. If you think you know everything about the 1776 to 1976 United States bicentennial Eisenhower $1 coin, then brace yourself, because what I am about to reveal to you today is going to absolutely shatter everything you thought you knew about this legendary piece of American history, sitting silently and potentially worth a jaw-dropping fortune right inside your pocket, your drawer, your grandfather's old coin jar, or buried inside that dusty shoebox tucked away in the back of your closet. And I promise you, by the time this video is over, you are going to be sprinting to every corner of your home, tearing open every forgotten drawer, ripping through every old wallet, because the shocking truth about this coin, the secrets to buried history, the explosive auction records, and the insane mind-bending rarity of certain versions of this dollar coin is something that the mainstream world almost entirely overlooks. And that oversight could be costing you hundreds, thousands, or in the most electrifying case of all, nearly $1 million. Yes, you heard that absolutely right. Nearly $1 million for a single $1 coin. And we are going to talk about every single jaw-dropping detail today. So let us go all the way back to the very beginning, because understanding the thunderous historical foundation of this coin is what makes its story so utterly breathtaking. And so, let us travel back to the year 1776, a year that changed the entire course of human civilization, a year that shook the world to its core, a year when the 13 American colonies stood up against the most powerful empire on the face of the earth and declared with fire in their hearts and steel in their eyes that all men are created equal, that they are endowed with certain unalienable rights, and that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And on July 4th, 1776, the Declaration of Independence was signed, and the militant United States of America was born out of blood sacrifice, suffering, and an unshakable belief in freedom and dignity. And fast forward exactly 200 electrifying years to 1976, and the entire nation of America was on fire with celebration, because the country was turning 200 years old. The bicentennial of American independence was an occasion so monumental, so historically colossal, so deeply emotional for every single American, that the government knew it had to do something truly extraordinary to commemorate this once-in-a-two milestone, and so the United States Congress, acting on the recommendation that had been building since as far back as 1966, when the American Revolutionary Bicentennial Commission was first established, authorized something that had never been done before. In the history of circulating American coinage, they redesigned not one, but three denominations of American coins: the oak, quarter, the half-dollar, and the $1 coin, and they gave them all a spectacular special reverse design and a dual date reading, 1776-1976, making these the first and only circulating United States coins in all of American numismatic history to carry two dates simultaneously, and that single stunning fact alone makes this coin historically unique in a way that no other circulating coin in America has ever been. And that is where our story truly explodes into something magnificent, because this was not just any ordinary commemorative gesture. This was a national declaration, stamped permanently into metal, a celebration of 2 centuries of American liberty pressed between your fingers every single day, and the government took this responsibility deadly seriously. Now let us talk about the man whose face graces the obverse of this magnificent coin, because you absolutely cannot tell the story of the Eisenhower dollar without talking about the towering giant of history whose portrait dominates the front of every single one of these coins. Dwight David Eisenhower, the 34th President of the United States, the Supreme Commander of Allied forces in Europe during World War II, the architect of the D-Day invasion at Normandy, one of the most consequential and celebrated military and political leaders in all of American, and indeed, world history, a man who led the liberation of an entire continent from the grip of Nazi tyranny, and who then went on to lead his country through some of the most pivotal years of the 20th century. Eisenhower passed away in March of 19, and almost immediately the push began in Congress to honor his extraordinary legacy on a United States coin, and that push succeeded, and the Eisenhower dollar series was born in 1971, becoming the first large-size American dollar coin issued since the Peace Dollar series ended all the way back in 1935. A stunning 36-year gap in large dollar coin production, and the obverse design was crafted by Frank Gasparo, the chief engraver of the United States Mint, an absolutely masterful artist, who based his portrait of Eisenhower on a sketch he had personally made from life at a post-World War II parade, giving the portrait an authenticity and intimacy that you simply cannot manufacture in Espanol. Placed Eisenhower's strong left-face profile on the obverse with the word liberty arching majestically along the upper edge, and the national motto, "In God We Trust," appearing beneath Eisenhower's chin, and Gasparo's own initials, FG, appear at the truncation of the neck, and for the regular non-bicentennial Eisenhower dollars, the reverse depicted a stylized eagle landing on the moon, inspired by and based directly on the mission patch, designed by astronaut Michael Collins for the Apollo 11 moon landing of 1969, linking in one single coin 2 of the most extraordinary moments in American history: the presidency of one of its greatest leaders, and the moment humanity first set foot on another world. And then came 1973, and the legislative wheels began turning for the bicentennial redesign, and on October 18, 1973, President Richard Nixon signed into law the authorization for the special bicentennial coinage, declaring that all coins of the quarter, half-dollar, and dollar denominations minted for delivery after July 4, 1975, and before December 31, 1976, would bear special redesigned reverses and also carry the stunning dual date, 1776 to 1976, and on that same day, October 18, 1973, the United States Mint launched an absolutely extraordinary open design competition, inviting artists from across the entire country to submit new reverse designs for all 3 bicentennial coins, with the staggering incentive of a $5,000 prize for each winning design. And what happened next is one of the most heartwarming and astonishing stories in the entire history of American coinage, because the winner of the Eisenhower dollar reverse design competition was not a seasoned veteran of the numismatic world, not a professional coin engraver, not a famous sculptor, but a 22-year-old art student named Dennis R. Williams, who was studying at the Columbus College of Art and Design in Ohio. And the absolutely electrifying detail here is that Williams's winning design had actually started as a simple class assignment given to him by his college instructor. And what he created out of that classroom exercise became permanently immortalized on hundreds of millions of American coins. A design so beautiful, so symbolically powerful, so historically resonant that it was chosen from a nationwide competition as the face of the nation's most important commemorative coinage, and the design was announced to the public on March 7, 1974, when Mint director Mary Brooks appeared on NBC's Today Show to unveil the winning designs to the American people, and Dennis Williams received his $5,000 prize, and his name was forever written into the history books as the youngest person in United States history to have a design featured on circulating American coinage, and his reverse design is nothing short of spectacular. It shows the Liberty Bell, one of the most iconic symbols of American freedom and independence, superimposed against the moon, with a cratered lunar surface visible behind it, creating this breathtaking fusion of America's revolutionary founding spirit with its greatest modern achievement. The Apollo 11 moon landing, and the design connects 2 centuries of American greatness in a single image. The birth of a free nation in 1776, and the moment humanity reached beyond the bounds of Earth in 1969, and the national motto, E pluribus unum, appears to the right of the Liberty Bell and Williams's own initials. DRW can be seen directly below the bottom edge of the Liberty Bell, and the inscriptions United States of America arch across the top, and $1 curves along the bottom, separated by 2 small stars, and the whole composition is a masterpiece of symbolic storytelling. Pressed into metal now, here is something that absolutely blows the minds of most people when they first hear it, and I want you to really let this sink in, because it changes your understanding of everything about this coin. There are no dollar coins dated. 1975? None? Zero? Not a single one. And the reason for this is both practical and poetic, because the Mint wanted to maximize the production window for the special bicentennial coins. So, rather than splitting production between a 1975 dated regular coin and a 1976 dated bicentennial coin, they made the bold decision that all dollar coins struck during 1975 and 1976 would carry the dual date, 1776 to 1976. And so if you have a coin dated 1775 or 1975, on a so-called bicentennial dollar, then something is very wrong, because that coin simply does not exist in legitimate United States Mint production. And the practical result of this decision was an enormous production run that began in February 1975, with the silver pieces starting production at the San Francisco Mint beginning April 23, 1975, and the first bicentennial dollars were released into general circulation on October 13, 1975. Get ready to uncover one of the most fascinating hidden treasures in the world of coin collecting, because today we are diving deep into the mysterious story of the 1978 Eisenhower dollar coin, a coin that might be sitting unnoticed in your pocket drawer yet could secretly hold surprising value and shocking history tied to one of America's most iconic leaders, Dwight D. Eisenhower. This incredible coin was minted during a time when the United States was transitioning away from large silver dollars and experimenting with modern coinage, making the 1978 issue especially significant because it marked the final year of the Eisenhower dollar series, a dramatic end to a short but powerful chapter in American numismatic history. And what makes this even more exciting is that collectors around the world are still hunting for rare versions of this coin, driving up auction prices and turning ordinary finds into extraordinary windfalls. Now imagine this: you are casually going through old coins, and suddenly you stumble upon a 1978 Eisenhower dollar. At first glance, it may look like just another large, heavy coin, but hidden within its details could be minting, variations, errors, and rare conditions that make it worth far more than its face value. And that is exactly why collectors are obsessed with this piece. Because while millions were produced, only a small fraction exists today in pristine condition, or with unique features that send shockwaves through the auction world. The 1978 Eisenhower dollar was minted in massive numbers at facilities like United States Mint, including Philadelphia and Denver, meaning that most circulated coins are common and typically valued at just $1 to a few dollars, depending on condition. However, do not let that fool you, because hidden among these millions are rare gems, such as uncirculated coins, proof strikes, and air coins that can fetch hundreds or even thousands of dollars at auction. Yes, you heard that right, thousands of dollars for what looks like a simple coin. And that is where the real thrill begins. Collectors are not just looking for any 1978 Eisenhower dollar, they are searching for coins with perfect surfaces, sharp details, and original mint luster, known as MS-65 or higher grades, which are incredibly difficult to find due to the coin's large size and tendency to show marks and scratches. Even more shocking are proof coins struck with mirror-like finishes at the San Francisco Mint, which were specially made for collectors and often preserved in protective cases. These proof coins can be worth significantly more, especially if they are graded highly by professional grading services and sealed in certified holders, ensuring authenticity and condition. Now let's talk about errors, because this is where things get truly exciting. Error coins are like winning a lottery in the world of numismatics, and the 1978 Eisenhower dollar has its share of fascinating mistakes, including double dies off center strikes and planchet errors, each one unique, each one telling a story of something that went unexpectedly wrong during the minting process, and collectors absolutely love these coins because they are rare, unpredictable, and impossible to duplicate, making them highly valuable and sought after in auctions across the globe. Speaking of auctions, the market for Eisenhower dollars has seen surprising activity over the years, with rare, high-grade examples selling for hundreds and even over $1,000. Depending on demand, condition, and certification, these auctions often take place on major platforms and attract serious collectors who are willing to pay premium prices for top quality coins, especially those graded by trusted companies like Professional Coin Grading Service and Numismatic Guarantee Company, where a single grade difference can mean a huge jump in value. Imagine turning a $1 coin into a life-changing payday just because it was preserved in near perfect condition. That is the power of rarity and collector demand, and it gets even more intense when you consider the historical significance behind the coin. The Eisenhower dollar was created to honor President Eisenhower, as well as the Apollo 11 moon landing, symbolizing American achievement and leadership. And by 1978, the series came to an end, making that year a final tribute, a closing chapter that collectors see as a must-have piece in their collections, and that emotional and historical connection only adds the coin's desirability. Now you might be wondering, how rare is the 1978 Eisenhower dollar? Really? And the answer is both simple and thrilling. While the majority are common and easy to find in circulated condition, truly rare examples are incredibly scarce, especially those in gem, uncirculated grades, or with unique errors or proof finishes. This creates a fascinating contrast where a coin that seems ordinary can suddenly become extraordinary under the right circumstances, and that is what keeps collectors searching, inspecting, and hoping every single day, because the next rare discovery could be just around the corner, hidden in plain sight, waiting to be found. And when it comes to selling these coins, the process can be just as exciting as finding them. Collectors often turn to auctions, coin dealers, and online marketplaces to get the best price, but the key is knowledge. Understanding the coin's condition, rarity, and market demand is crucial, because a poorly described coin might sell for a fraction of its true value, while a properly graded and marketed coin can spark bidding wars that drive prices sky high. This is why many experts recommend getting your coin professionally graded before selling it, especially if you suspect it might be valuable, because certification adds credibility, trust, and often a significant boost in price. And let's not forget the thrill of the hunt, because collecting Eisenhower dollars is not just about money, it is about history, discovery, and the excitement of finding something rare and meaningful. Each coin tells a story of the era it was minted, the hands it passed through, and the journey it took to reach you. And that is what makes this hobby so addictive and rewarding. So if you have a 1978 Eisenhower dollar, do not ignore it. Take a closer look, examine its details, check its condition, and consider its potential value, because you might be holding a hidden treasure that collectors around the world are desperately searching for. And who knows, your next coin discovery could be the one that changes everything, turning a simple piece of metal into a story of history, value, and unbelievable surprise that captivates audiences and leaves everyone asking, could I have one too? We have an absolutely jaw-dropping, mind-blowing, heart-pounding episode for you today, because we are diving headfirst into one of the most controversial, misunderstood, and secretly electrifying coins ever struck by the United States Mint, and that coin is the legendary 1979 Susan B. Anthony $1 coin. And I promise you, by the time this video is over, your jaw will be on the floor. Your eyes will be wide, and you are going to look at that little silver disc sitting in your coin jar, your sock drawer, or your grandmother's old purse in a completely and utterly different light. Because what most people do not know, and what the mainstream coin world does not shout loudly enough, is that hiding inside this seemingly ordinary, everyday dollar coin are secrets, varieties, auction bombshells, and historical thunderbolts that can make certain specimens worth not $1, not $10, not $100, but potentially thousands and thousands of dollars. And that is not clickbait, my friends. That is cold hard numismatic fact, backed by certified auction records from the most prestigious coin auction houses on the planet. So buckle up, sharpen your eyes, and let us take a wild, electrifying, jaw-dropping journey back to 1979 America, where disco was dying, punk was exploding, gas prices were soaring, interest rates were spiraling into the stratosphere. Jimmy Carter was in the White House, America was still reeling from the psychological devastation of Vietnam and Watergate, and the United States government was about to make a coin decision that would go down as one of the most fascinating, controversial, and ultimately collector-beloved blunders in all of American monetary history. Because the story of The 1979 Susan B. Anthony dollar is not simply the story of a coin. It is the story of politics, of gender, of identity, of public perception, of bureaucratic stubbornness, of ignored expert advice, and ultimately, of the beautiful, unpredictable, transformative power of the coin-collecting market to find breathtaking hidden treasure in places where everyone else only saw failure and disappointment. So let us begin at the very, very beginning and understand who Susan B. Anthony actually was. Because you cannot truly appreciate this coin without appreciating the extraordinary revolutionary fire-breathing woman whose face graces its surface and whose spirit seems to pulse through every single specimen that has survived to this day. Susan B. Anthony was born on February 15, 1820, in Adams, Massachusetts, into a Quaker family that believed with profound conviction in the radical idea that all human beings deserved equal dignity and equal rights. And from the earliest age, Susan absorbed those values like oxygen, and she never stopped breathing them because Susan B. Anthony became one of the most important and most fearless social reformers in all of American history. She was a ferociously passionate abolitionist who fought against slavery with every ounce of her considerable energy. She was a temperance advocate who fought against the destruction that alcohol abuse was wreaking on American families. She was a tireless educator, an extraordinary organizer, a mesmerizing public speaker, and most powerfully and most enduringly of all, she was the volcanic, unstoppable engine at the very heart of the American women's suffrage movement, fighting year after year, decade after decade with breathtaking courage and absolutely unbreakable stubbornness for women's fundamental right to vote, for women's right to own property, for women's right to exist in the public sphere as full and equal human beings rather than as dependents and decorations. And here is what makes her story even more poignant, even more electric, even more heartbreaking when you are holding that coin in your hand, because Susan B. Anthony died on March 13, 1906, 14 agonizing years before the 19th Amendment was ratified in August 1920, finally, at last, granting American women the right to vote. And Susan B. Anthony gave her entire life, her voice, her energy, her freedom, her health, and ultimately her last breath to a cause she never lived to see fully realized. And yet, she never stopped, she never surrendered, she never went quiet, she never made herself smaller or softer or more convenient. And on her deathbed, she reportedly declared that failure is impossible, and because of her relentless, thundering, unstoppable advocacy, millions upon millions of American women cast their first ballots in 1920, and all of the ballots that have followed in every election every year since. And that fierce and unstoppable legacy is what was stamped permanently and beautifully into metal when chief engraver Frank Gasparro sat down at his design table to create what would become the most talked about dollar coin of the 20th century. But here is where the story gets truly fascinating, truly revealing, truly dramatic, because the coin that eventually bore Susan B. Anthony's face was not the coin that was originally planned, and the fierce, all-political battle that erupted over its design tells you everything you need to know about the remarkable era in which it was created. Because you see, the United States Treasury originally wanted to replace the massive, bulky, deeply unpopular dollar that had been clanking around awkwardly in people's pockets and purses since 1971 with a new, smaller, sleeker, more practical, and more cost dollar coin. And as early as 1975, the prestigious Research Triangle Institute had recommended this smaller dollar concept and presented detailed technical specifications for what such a coin should look like and feel like to actually be successful. And the Treasury's original plan was to feature an allegorical figure of liberty, the kind of classical feminine imagery that had decorated and adorned American coins for well over 150 years, and Frank Gasparro himself had already prepared beautiful, sophisticated models of this liberty figure, drawing inspiration from some of the most magnificent, earlier American coin designs. And many people in the numismatic world were genuinely excited about those liberty designs. But then something happened, something dramatic, something historically significant, something that would change American coinage forever, because Representative Mary Rose Ocar, a Democratic congresswoman from Ohio, stood up in Congress and said, "Not so fast," and she argued with passionate conviction and with the full force of her considerable political skill that women deserved more than yet another allegorical symbol. They deserved a real historical woman, a woman of flesh and blood and bone, and battle and hard-won achievement, a woman who had actually lived and struggled and fought and bled for American democracy. And Representative Ocar pushed hard and pushed smart for Susan B. Anthony, and she was not alone in that fight, because she had powerful and vocal allies, including the League of Women Voters, the National Organization for Women, the Daughters of the American Revolution, the American Association for University Women, and a whole magnificent coalition of women's groups, who understood deeply and instinctively that putting a real woman on circulating American currency was not just a numismatic design decision, It was a cultural declaration, a statement about whose history mattered, whose face belonged on the coins. That passed through every American hand, every single day, and gradually, even Frank Gasparro himself came around and voiced his genuine support for the design change, though not everyone agreed because Treasury Secretary W. Michael Blumenthal was actively and vocally opposed, arguing against what he called the politicization of the coin, but the coalition was too strong, the moment was too powerful, and history was on the move. And so, in October 1978, President Jimmy Carter signed the legislation that authorized the new dollar coin, and the race was on to get it designed, produced, and delivered to the American public. And here is one of the most delicious, revealing, and humanly fascinating behind-the-scenes details about this coin's creation that most people never hear, because when Frank Gasparro completed his portrait sketches of Susan B. Anthony and showed them to Anthony's own surviving niece, the niece looked carefully at the portrait and told Gasparro, with blunt family authority, that it was too pretty. She told him that her aunt had been a more stern, more severe, more weathered, and more aged-looking woman than his idealized portrait suggested, and the Commission of Fine Arts agreed that Gasparro needed to depict the suffragette with a more realistic, more honest, more unvarnished aged appearance, and there has been endless fascinating debate ever since about whether that decision to make Anthony look deliberately stern and formidable on the coin contributed significantly to the American public's lukewarm and ultimately hostile reception of the design, because many Americanicans looked at that coin and saw an unsmiling, severe-looking elderly woman, and some found it genuinely off-putting compared to the idealized classical, feminine liberty figures they were used to seeing on their money, and critics of the coin's design had an absolute field day. And this combination of design controversy and the devastating confusion with the quarter contributed powerfully to one of the great commercial disasters in the entire history of American coinage, because when the $19 was officially released in July 1979, with tremendous government fanfare and enormous promotional enthusiasm, it was immediately and spectacularly and comprehensively rejected by the American public, and the reason for that rejection was stunning in its simplicity. The new dollar coin was 26.5 millimeters in diameter, and it used the same copper-nickel-clad composition and the same reeded edge as the Washington quarter, and as a result, people across America could barely tell the two coins apart in their pockets, in their cash register.